You know you're doing something right when you get the liberal elites going crazy over your comments. You know you're doing something right when it's positively obvious you're living rent-free in the lefties' heads, and it's so much fun. Let me tell you, last night Jimmy Kimmel, a well-known liberal talk show host, took offense to my interview with Governor Kristi Noem the night before.
So now Cruella Dakota is on a media tour where the right-wing news suck-ups like Eric Bolling of Newsmax are desperately trying to come up with any angle that might help get her out of this mess.
Governor, I've also written a couple of books, and I know how the process works. You write some chapters. You don't write the whole book at once. You write a chapter or two. You send it to the editors, and they edit. They read it. They add. They subtract. And here's my question. The editor. The editor, was she possibly a plant?
Yes. The editor was a plant. The editor was a philodendron working for the Biden crime family, and she got in there. Good one, Eric.
All right, so pretty funny, Jimmy. I'll give you that. But then Kimmel went further. I know you're a mom. I know you're a follower of God. I know you can quote the Bible. Meanwhile, because of the story, the leftist media has you out there killing Fido.
No. We don't have you out there killing Fido. You killed Fido.
All right, so we got Jimmy pretty fired up. Not the first time he's gone after your humble host, but by his reaction, I'm clearly got Jimmy's number, so I'm pretty sure it won't be the last, my guess. You know, you're doing something right when a couple lesser known, very much as liberal hosts of a lefty podcast are so incensed over my simple observation that old Joe Biden can barely negotiate a bite of salad, well, they can't hold back their disdain. This man has a nuclear code. Look, that's the president of the United States. The man who's going to push back on Russia, China, North Korea. Are you kidding me? He can't even take a bite of his own salad.
It's officially election season, which means that, some will temporarily or maybe even permanently lose their minds and engage in the craziest doomsday scenarios to get people to vote for their guy. And it's truly a bipartisan tradition here in America these days.
So Cenk Uygur, who ran for Congress, folks, by the way, and Anna Kasparian really don't like me pointing out the obvious flaws with their very liberal president, so much so they also went further.
The salad video is probably one of my favorite things Eric Bolling has ever done because of how hilarious it is. So let's take a look. You'll get what I'm talking about.
The man with the nuclear codes at his fingertips grappling with a bowl of lettuce. He can barely feed himself. Let's watch this for a second. This isn't slowed down. This isn't edited. This is Joe trying to eat a bite of salad. Just watch. Just watch. This man has a nuclear code. Look, that's the president of the United States.
Like, what did you want him to do? Like, scarf it down like a monster?
But my favorite was, you expect that guy who eats salad slowly to push back against North Korea? What is the logical connection there?
No, those two, they really need to get a life or a job at the very least, you know what I'm saying? And finally, you're doing something right when your reflection, when you look in a mirror and everything is the opposite. Well, my literal liberal reflection, the opposite, Joy Reid, the opposite of exactly me, calls me a meanie, a bully, and apparently awarded me the title of the absolute worst.
Newsmax anchor and former Fox meanie Eric Bolling not only went after Big Bird, but also after his friends and the most famous Muppet power couple of all, Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, calling them communists. And I'm not even sure he knows what that means.
Not the first time these little felt communists have tried to infect the minds of our youngest and most vulnerable children. A decade ago, way back in 2011, I called out Kermit, that cute little green monster commie. Guess what? The invite's still open, Miss Piggy. If you or your emasculated frog boyfriend, Kermit, ever wanted to join this desk, It's free.
But for going after our beloved Muppet couple with such a mean and silly attack, Eric B. for Bolling and for Bully, you are tonight's absolute worst.
Aw, Joy, you know you're doing something right, folks, when those three stooges, Joy, Jimmy, and Cenk Uygur, can't quit me. By the way, come on the show. Love to talk to any one of you.